Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 9 of the Get Out of Your Comfort Zone series. I am so excited for you all to be. And without further ado, Cora will be on. Hello, Cora.
Hi.
Hi, how's it going?
It's going great. I've got my
Ah,
strawberries, I've got everything I need, and I'm here with you live, so wonderful.
fantastic, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for making the time to join. If it's okay with you, I'd love to get started with a quick introduction.
hmm
My name is Farhan, and I am a digital nomad and an immigrant to this wonderful country. And I'm very passionate about the Get Out of Your Comfort Zone series because I believe that true growth in life happens when you are outside of your comfort zone. And that can be in one of two ways. It could be a life prescribed circumstance when something bad, quote unquote, happens, or when you decide to make a choice to be uncomfortable, to step out of your comfort zone and then grow as a result. With the latter, with your choice to purposely make yourself uncomfortable, to step out of your comfort zone, not only are you taking more control of your own growth, but you're also doing something else. You are strengthening the muscles of your resilience, of your creativity, of your power, so that when life inadvertently throws challenges at you that are outside of your control, you are just a stronger individual, more creative to overcome those struggles and not suffer as much in the process, right? And so, as part of that, today I'm joined by a very powerful woman who I have the pleasure of calling my friend. Cora is an immigrant like myself. She recently moved back to the US from France. She's also a mother. And Cora creates tools to help women drop layers of conditioning as well as limiting beliefs to help release their true essence and find their joy in the process by weaving a deep relationship with their body. Outside of that, Cora is a multidisciplinary artist, author, illustrator, and today we're here to talk about one of the methodologies through which she accomplishes this work. Cora, is there anything that you would like to add to that?
I mean, no, I love to hear you talk about me. I was like, who's this person? There's so much going on. Like, wow, she sounds cool. Okay, it's me. It's me.
Woohoo!
But yeah, really well said. Thanks.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
there's much more to say to that. Honestly, it was pretty pretty rounded here. Um,
Well, Cora, one thing that I would love to, start us off with is I would love to have you share in just a minute or two, the story of how we met and how we came into each other's lives.
I was wondering about that last time. I was like, of course, Kindred. And then I remembered I called you, right? Didn't I? Yes, we were doing that teacher training, meditation teacher training, and
Mhm.
I had been in it for longer. I think, when did you join?
I joined in January of 2021,
Okay.
and I was contemplating signing up for the teacher training. And you were one of the two people that I had a very in-depth conversation with as part of my decision making to make that commitment.
It's
you
so
know?
interesting because I remember now, remember the call. I don't remember a whole lot of things in general, but I do remember the call because we were talking about it. And you were such a, I mean, of course you were you, but you were at such a
Mhm.
different stage. You were such a different person back then. I don't know, I see you in a suit, like very, a lot more, you know, framed, a lot more like,
Mhm.
man, that was a while ago. But yes,
Yeah.
I remember that conversation and how it's just, I was just explaining what my process with it had been because I'd been doing that kind of meditation for, I think, 4 months when we
Hmm.
had the call. So yeah,
Hmm.
and then
Yeah.
this history.
And look where it has brought us, right? So to Cora's point, when she first came into my life in December of 2020, I was a very different person. And it's a testament of me stepping out of my comfort zone multiple times to be in this present iteration of what you're seeing, and to be a digital nomad and all of these things, and feeling like I've lived several lifetimes in this very short period, that has led me to be this person who's in front of you. And so with that, I'd love to transition into sort of the topic of what we're going to converse about today. And this is the topic of, really, as the title suggests, the mirror within. But we do this by physically using a mirror to deepen our relationship with ourselves. And we're going to get into a lot more detail on this. But before we do, Cora, I wanna try to set the stage for our audience to help them understand the rationale, the why. So why is it so important for us to do mirror work and these methodologies by which we're able to go inside, as a result of society having cut us off from our bodies, and then also focusing on, for you personally, how has mirror work benefited you? So I'd like to break that up into two segments,
Mhm.
starting with, why is mirror work so important in a time and place where, there are all these things that have cut us off from our body. And if you want to talk a little bit about what that means, being cut off from our body, please.
I mean, I think you said it beautifully earlier. First, like the fact of, you know, showing up for yourself over and over again to be able to get out of your comfort zone. And then, like you said it, living a lot of different lives within a very short amount of time. Like that's what happens as soon as you get out of your comfort zone. You just all of a sudden everything else recalibrates and you're
Mm-hmm.
just a different person over and over and over again. And then
Mm-hmm.
like really soon, you know, you're so far from where you started. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I mean that's beautiful when you have a practice that
Mm-hmm.
you're able to get back to you know and show up again and again and again and again for it. And so I think mirror work is really interesting in that way because all you need is literally a mirror and some time with yourself, which is definitely something everyone can do. Um, and yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So when we were, one thing that I'd like to delve into a little bit, right, is help us understand through your experience in the present day,
Mhm.
right? And you are a mother, right? When you think about raising your daughter, what are some of the ways that you see present day that that force us to be cut off from our bodies, right?
I mean, I would say society is basically designed for that, right? There's always something else going on outside of us, whether it's on our phones, whether, you know, like it's very, the only relationship you end up having with yourself, usually
Mm-hmm.
in front of the mirror, is just to see, like, what clothes am I wearing today? Is it
Mm-hmm.
looking good or not? Like, what am I and you know it's always that judgment. It's from a judging place whether
Mm-hmm.
you're good enough or not to be shown to the world. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's I think we live in a very interesting time now because with everything that happened in lockdowns,
mm,
It's just been a lot more possibilities to explore what it is to be you without having that external, gaze
mm,
all the time and all those, let's say, injunctions from society thrown at you
mm,
constantly. So,
mm,
yes, I think it's very important to cultivate this part
mm,
of yourself and to be able to take the time to actually get curious and get to know yourself because and that's I mean that's something that kids do just very easily. I see my daughter and like
mm,
she just goes for it completely. So really as a mom, it's more so about being able to keep that spirit for her because she
mm,
already knows everything that she's doing. She already knows and she loves that mirror, but she loves to like express herself in it and see what else she can do. So she
mm,
uses it like that as a kid. And I think for everyone, it's really interesting to be able to get back to that point. But as adults, we
mm.
have so much more to do to get back to that point, right? Because,
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's been essentially beaten out of us in some ways
Mm-hmm.
by society and inadvertently our own parents, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so, you talked about your daughter and sort of, sort of just how she knows to be completely herself. Could you, when we were talking in a previous conversation, you were sharing the example of one of your clients and specifically their sort of tendencies with the mirror and like some of their subconscious ways in which they avoid. Could you shed some light on that so that we can better understand how these things might be affecting us without us even knowing to help deepen our self-awareness to some of this?
Yeah, absolutely. So I had a client who basically she did not have mirrors in her house. Well, the only one she had was really one in the entrance where you could see her face, and then one in the bathroom, and it was pretty high up, so it was really hard to see herself in there. But and she was cutting herself off a lot, and that's very interesting because basically everything that wasn't showing up in the mirror was uh, let's say, issue she
Mm,
came to me for. It had to do with being a woman, her womb space, sexuality. So all of that, she didn't even want to see for herself
mm,
what her entire body looked like, and I thought that was very interesting to see that it showed up in her life, like in her actual life, by her not even like giving herself the choice to see what was going on, in the
mm,
second half of her body. So
mm,
yeah, it's pretty impressive how really our like what's going on with us and our relationship to the world just ends up showing up in
mm,
ways in our everyday lives or just
mm,
even when you show up in the mirror. I think it's a really good tool to be able to get face to face with what's holding you back, like if you
yeah,
really take the time to dive in, and that's what that work is all about, really.
yeah. And there's something that you said that I'd love to sort of open up a little bit and explore, which is, we're approaching this from a place of deepening our self-awareness, having a better relationship with our body by getting to know, what has been plaguing us, and really shedding light on that, because a lot of this is unknown, right? A lot of people don't even realize this. And as part of building the case for the value of doing this, you talked about, sort of our sensuality, our sexuality, and how, something like how we view ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
right, um, can impact our sexual relationship, our sensual relationship with
Mm-hmm.
ourselves, as well as with our intimate partners. Would you care to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you spend your entire time, like anytime you're showing in the mirror, um just spend your entire time judging and diminishing yourself, and then looking for what you're looking for in yourself in
Mhm.
someone else, then you're really basically projecting on that person to be what you cannot be to yourself. So I think it's very interesting to stop here and be able to create a deep relationship within yourself, which is going to allow you to know yourself and to know yourself outside of, like we said, there's so many things in society, and I know that I said fashion, but I would say if we're talking about sensuality and sexuality, I would even say, sorry about that, um, porn is a big
Mhm.
one in society today, because a lot, I mean, growing up, we don't have a lot of talks about what it means to be sensual with oneself, to be, and even more so to be sensual and sexual with someone else. So you end up like having very little ways as far as like teachers go, to look for it, to look for what it means. And you don't necessarily have that relationship with your body that is strong enough to where you can experience that for yourself and see what feels good to you, and you know what, yeah, where your boundaries lay, what is good for you before you can present yourself in front of someone else and
Mhm.
know, like this is what I like, this is what I don't. You spend your time looking outside of yourself and saying, okay, so this is how we're supposed to act, like especially with
Mhm.
a lot of people watching porn now. This is how we're supposed to act. So I'm this person in a box. I'm like the woman. I'm supposed to do this. You're the man. You're supposed to do that. And even in the mirror, you can see how people show up like that. Like how men just
Mhm.
basically are looking, like, oh, do I look good, or like where are my abs? Where are my where are my arms?
Mhm.
And and how women just think constantly about themselves through the male gaze. So
Mhm.
it's very intertwined, and it's a very well built web, and it's very hard to drop out of it. And I think that for some, all the lockdowns were really an unprecedented ways to actually dive deep into that, into, if you were open for it and weren't looking to the external, to, I mean, we all try to look for like things that, light us up, especially in those moments. But like, yeah, as a reason to dive in more and
Mhm.
see,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I'm gonna
Yeah.
say for I was just gonna talk about how it showed up for me, but yes, please go ahead.
I mean, please, if you want to talk about that, please,
Oh yeah,
how it
I
showed up.
was just, since we're talking about lockdowns, I was,
Yeah.
um, for me, my experience with it was more so, okay, I'm getting to 30, and I
Yeah.
realized that my body, that I'd never seen my body
Mhm.
in the way that it's supposed to be. Like, that's what happened for me. And I was just like, I have like nothing to do right now but watch my hair grow.
Mhm.
And so that's what I did. That's what I did. And I was just, I want to be curious about my body, and I want to, yeah, I want to let it express itself in the way that it was designed, in the way that it was meant to then see, what I feel about it, like what comes
Mhm.
out of it. And it's a very hard thing to do when you spent your entire life, um, having other injunctions, that you follow and that makes sense. Well, I don't like hair anyway, so I'm not gonna, like, why would I let my hair grow if I already know that I don't like hair?
Mhm.
And then you're like, yeah, but why do I not like hair? If my body has hair on it, then that probably, I mean, where does that come from, and then you start
Mhm.
unraveling the entire history, let's just say, to see where it came from, and you realize it's
Mhm.
really something external to you. So it's very beneficial to have that moment to yourself, and see what comes up with it. Like,
Mhm.
I wasn't around people, obviously, so it was just me
Mhm.
and myself, and then I had the time, so it really gives you time to open and see what comes up as you as you see it unfold,
Mm.
really, like what
Yeah,
conditionings, what,
yeah.
yeah, all of these
So
things.
just to clarify, we
Hmm.
are talking about body hair, right? Body hair all over.
Absolutely, yeah, body
And
hair completely.
yeah, and basically sort of this programming that a lot of women and men, I mean, I'm a very hairy human being, go through as far as, what the media portrays, your relationship with hair should be. And so tell us, as a result of, this experiment that you were able to do in a very safe space, right? What was the outcome of that? Right? Like, how did your relationship
Well,
change with the hair as a result of this? And share some of those turning points, some of those aha
mhm.
moments.
So that's basically okay. So going back, it's funny because we can definitely weave that in together, but that's what
Yeah.
network allows you to do with everything. I'm just using body hair because it's a very physical, um, like physical trait, and it's really easy to imagine and talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, you start in with being open, being curious, seeing what happens, right? And then you see everything that downs on you, the conditioning, all the things you're thinking about, all the ways you're judging yourself, everything. And then, and it's very, very uncomfortable. It's so very uncomfortable, but sometimes it makes you want to stop. But that's the beauty of like showing up for yourself. You're just like, I'm gonna get to the bottom of this and I'm gonna see. And something very beautiful happens when you're at the bottom of it, which is like basically you turn it on your head and that's where you get
Mm-hmm.
your power. And then you decide what you want to do with it because
Mm-hmm.
basically you've been through the initiation, right? So you just
Mm-hmm.
you went through all of it and now you get to decide for yourself. So personally, I was just like, I mean, I don't mind it. We're back on buddy here. I don't mind it. Why would I? I tried to shave my armpits once again, and then I was just like, this is so uncomfortable. I don't like the way it grows. I don't like the way it grows back. I mean, it's like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
this, yeah. So what changed for me is that now that I know that I have the choice and the choice is mine and I took the choice, like I took that power of creating that.
Mm-hmm.
So now it doesn't mean that I can't, shave my armpits if I want to because I can, and it doesn't mean if I do it I get back into like under society's order. No, I would do it for myself. I would absolutely do it for myself. And then it gives me the chance also to get creative with it. So like I was just
Mm-hmm.
if I trim my hair, I love I love talking about that because it's hilarious. If
Hell yeah.
I, please let me talk about my buddy hair for about an
Yeah.
hour. But if I trim my hair, I will come from a place of like, you know what? It's like getting a haircut. Like, I want to do
Mm-hmm.
this for myself. I don't necessarily want to get rid of all of it because I don't mind it. And the process of outgrowing it is actually more painful than just having it and dealing with it. And it's not going to come from the outside point of view, like, oh, it's too long. It's just going to be me, my thing. Like, and it evolves with what I want. So meaning it's not
Mm-hmm.
always going to be the same, and that's what's very beautiful. You give yourself the chance to evolve and be organic, but it's on your terms, you know.
Mm-hmm. And you triggered something within me that I hope to share with
Hmm.
your permission,
Yeah.
which is, you know, there is this notion, right, that in sort of just achieving success is that you want to attract what you desire
Hmm.
to you,
Yeah.
right? However, what a lot of people don't talk about is in order to attract what you desire to you, there is a certain way in which you yourself have to conduct and engage
Hmm.
with the world, right? And so, what I can tell you as a result of my own journey with my own body hair and going within, what I've realized is that being unabashed, being proud, being very open about my body hair, even with the body positivity work, right? It almost is a blessing because it creates a filter. It creates a filter from which the world and people who want to interact with me have to go through. Because if there are people out there who grapple, who have this very strong mentality around, not honoring the body and not having total acceptance, then
Mm-hmm.
they see me as free as I am, and they automatically are shunned away from me, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
previously, I used to chase after their validation, and
Mm-hmm.
that's why I would shave my hair and all of that. But now, those people automatically turn around and leave. And I've created emptiness, openness for those people who don't see my hair, my body as a limiting factor to beautifully come in,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing because you're you've set yourself up to where you don't have to do as much work to determine, does this person have my best interest at heart? Does this person have pure intentions as they're leading to believe? You know,
Mm-hmm.
you just being you is doing that work for you, and how amazing is that?
Yes, it is. It is so amazing, and it takes so much, right? I mean, you've gone through it, and you're still going through it, and so am I. That's just what happens when you show up for yourself. The work never ends. It's just over and
Yeah.
over. There's always something else, but that's the beauty of it. Like, isn't it? We're all trying just to grow. Like that's what consciousness wants to like to grow to like, and that's funny because it just makes me think of my mantra that I told you about earlier. Like, show me how good it can get. Like, show me how good it can get, and let me show up fully for it, and
Hmm.
see like what's the next step, and can I get to that? Do I give myself permission to get to that? So
Hmm.
it's very beautiful, and it's also you start interacting with people. Like you were saying, I had that image of magnets, like opposite magnets, just like you push people away, right? Like
Hmm.
some people are just and what do you push away? You push away their conditioning. You push away like all the walls that they've built. Uh,
Hmm.
it, that keep them from a lot of things, and namely you.
Hmm.
So it's yeah, show me how good it can get, absolutely. And yeah, it's a very beautiful process. It's very painful because you have to
Hmm.
be able to see yourself for
Yeah.
who you are and where you're at with
Hmm.
what conditioning, and be okay with it, and be able to parent yourself in the way that like it's okay, I see what's going on right now, like you're
Hmm.
trying to work through that, and you're aware, like the awareness of it is what is going to make you succeed basically. So
Hmm.
like it's a very good starting step for sure. And mhm.
Fantastic. Yeah. Cora, I know that we want to save time to talk about the actual process of the mirror work, right? And I want to honor that. Before we do though, you mentioned something when you were talking about the male gaze and specifically how women are conditioned to see themselves through the male gaze,
Mhm.
is I believe what you said. And that triggered within me this notion of toxic masculinity, right? And how sort of this centuries of conditioning of men and women through this, very narrow perspective of men has, in a lot of ways, caused some of these issues that a lot of people grapple with. And, I know that, when we were talking, one of the things that came up with is how this work, outside of just women, has a lot of potential for men to address how they see themselves,
Mhm.
right? And as a result, do a better job of how they conduct themselves. So I'd love for you to expound on that a little bit and help build the case for the men out there, and why this is important.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say, I mean, I'm gonna go with both different way, but
Yeah.
when women show up in the mirror, what's gonna come through mainly is, I mean, it's very, it's all the negative self-talk, all the patterns that are here, all that are gonna keep them from seeing how they truly are.
Mm,
And I would say when men show up in the mirror, it's too, it's I mean, it's sort of the same way. It's the way they present themselves, but they're not looking at themselves. They're looking at the image that they project and the very like, how do you say, the virility, the very like look
macho.
at everything that I
Yeah.
am.
Yeah.
And they're not going into the mirror to see themselves. And I mean, for every relationship I've been with, men do have a lot of negative self talk as well. They do have a lot of self consciousness
Hmm.
surrounding their bodies, especially, and the way that they're supposed to show up. And like this, so they adopt that sort of like showing up in the mirror to look a certain way. And when they can drop that and actually be there with themselves, what they don't have, and it's a hard mask to drop, because even if they don't have to perform for anyone, to just show up for yourself in front of the mirror and like be able to let all those masks go and see what goes on behind that and get in touch with that. It's like it's basically everything you're not supposed to do as a man, right? So
Yeah.
but it's a very very important work, because I feel like if they can touch to that part of themselves that needs to be expressed in a different way, like if they give themselves the power to express things the way they want to and not the way that they're supposed to, then they don't have to look for it and to shape women in
Hmm.
other ways that that they've been taught to, so they can relate to people differently. Like the kind of work that you're going to do for yourself is going to show up when you talk to someone else.
Yeah.
So your entire relationship to women is going to switch as soon as you go deeper within yourself and see what's going on beyond those layers. And so
Hmm.
like I mean, structure of society would change a lot if everyone was
Hmm.
able to do that sort of work. And I mean, we're
Hmm.
all able to, it's just if everyone was willing to do that sort of work. And if that
Yeah.
sort of work was a lot more um, talked
Accessible.
about. And yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely.
Yeah. And some might argue that compared to women, it would be harder for men to sit in front of, in this case, a mirror to do that work, because men are conditioned to not be as in touch with their emotions. Men
Mhm.
are conditioned to have a very sort of certain image about their bodies, and the virility and the macho-ness through which they are to look at themselves, that is very much, confined to this is masculinity. And some would argue that in a lot of ways, doing this work for men presents more challenges, right? And so, what, if any, advice, if you agree with that, would you have for men who are listening to this who want to sort of try to break some of those barriers of conditioning within them to better prepare, prime themselves for this work?
Um, I mean, I would say we're all presented with uh, the kind of circumstances that we are born into, and
Yeah.
especially we have to deal with in society. Like, I'm just going, I'm not gonna like use that. feminism that is to reduce men.
Yeah,
Absolutely not. Like, I'm coming from a place of love, and I think that there's a lot to do for women, and it's very hard in a lot of
yeah,
ways. And I do believe the same equally for men. But it's beautiful to have men that would want to show up and do that sort of work.
yeah,
I would say, I mean, really, you do not need, like, the one thing you need is to be able to count on yourself to show up. So you don't have to like take big steps.
yeah,
Uh, and you have, I mean, it is going to be a very uncomfortable process. Like,
yeah,
but if you have these things, just go slow. Like, make yourself a nice playlist, sort of thing.
yeah,
And like, try not to pick songs that have too much of like a sentimental value to them, like that bring out a
yeah,
lot of like very intense emotions, or the kind of songs that you use to work out. Like, just try to find
yeah,
a good happy medium of a neutral, nice, deeper song. Um, and then you don't have to show up in the full light of day, like, you
yeah,
don't, like, just let's start it, let's just rip the band-aid. Like, you don't have to do that sort of thing. Just yeah, take it slow, make yourself comfortable, like as comfortable as you can, because to balance the uncomfortable process. And
mm-hmm,
it's very funny because I think, wait, I think, isn't it like the Libra full moon soon? So like, we're all about balance. So it's a very beautiful talk to have right now. But yes, it's just balance the polarities, right? It's going to be super uncomfortable. You decided you want to show up for yourself, and that's very beautiful. Like, put all the chances you have on your side. Like, get into it slow. Whether
mm-hmm,
it's like, bring some, I'm gonna say strawberries because I'm eating strawberries. But bring something you like to eat. Just sit down on a very comfortable pillow. Just like, use some soft lighting if you don't want to, get right in there.
yeah,
Just, yeah, take yourself out on a date. That's basically, like, mirror work doesn't have to be, yeah, all cerebral. Like, that's why we're trying to avoid to like
mm,
just to we're trying to reconnect to the body through the visual sense, because it's very important for humans. We're always looking like outside of ourselves
mm,
to like find the things that we want. So we're redirecting this sense onto ourselves. So we're
mm,
focusing, we're giving our awareness to our image in the mirror. And
mm-hmm,
we're listening here to everything that is coming through. So you can write, things down. You can, I would say, journal about it for sure.
mm,
Everything that's coming up for you, just like write it down, see what happens when you look at certain parts of your bodies. Like, there's so much to do, right?
mm-hmm.
So much can come up. But yeah, my main advice is balance.
Yeah. So I think this is such a beautiful segue into sort of the a very important part of today's conversation, which is the how, right? We talked about the importance of mirror work, and now we want to talk about the how. And sort of, I want to try to sort of reiterate some of the things that you said, as far as setting the stage for success, setting yourself
Mhm.
up for success. So say you've realized, or you accept, or you decide to do an experiment, um, men or women, that I have an opportunity to improve my relationship with myself and better understand some of these subconscious thought patterns and bring them to light. And you decide to honestly give, sort of the methodology that we're talking about today, the mirror work, a go. Um, what I've gathered so far, Cora, is overall your mindset should be that of taking yourself out on a date, right? And
Mhm.
and 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 as part of that, fully accepting, you know, uh, that this is going to be an uncomfortable process, and that feeling discomfort means that you're on the right path. And so I know that, like, putting myself in this kind of a situation, especially with something that isn't something that I've done it's very easy for my mind, my thought processes to dismiss the
Mm-hmm.
process, to say, this is a joke. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what is this? Nothing is happening. So understanding that as part of this process, your mind will play games with you.
Oh
Lots and
yeah. Oh
lots
yeah.
of games,
It
right?
loves that.
And expect that if nothing quote unquote is happening, that it's just a matter of you sort of being patient and
Mm-hmm.
implementing some of these aspects of creating the right environment, because you'll know you're taking a step in the right direction when you start to feel uncomfortable, when you feel the need to avert your gaze away from yourself, right?
Yeah.
So, as part of that, just to reiterate some of the little things that you talked about is, you know, understanding that the way into our body is more than just thought patterns, and it's going to be uncomfortable, and you want to balance that out by doing other things that you know are good for you. So,
Mm-hmm.
number one, that could be, setting the right musical notes. So
Yeah.
picking the right music. Additionally, you could play with the light. Like if you think about going on a date, with your crush, a dimly lit, bar or restaurant or whatever. Treat yourself in the same way, right? And additionally, taking it slow. Is there anything that you would like to add to that, Cora? And if not, I'd love to talk to you about, clothes and how, what should we be wearing and like get your advice on that.
Yes. Okay. So mainly, I would say spark your senses. I mean, that's what I always go back to. The like, it's a very. I mean, and a lot of things are going to be happening in your head about it, especially when you start. So, like, just spark your senses as a way of getting back into your body, because that's what we're doing. Your body is a very good place to. I mean, it holds so much wisdom, like much, much more than we could ever think. Um,
Mhm.
and no, although we're remembering, but yes. Basically you're going to become aware of a lot of the patterns that are keeping you, held a certain way, and keeping
Mhm.
you away from freedom of truly being yourself. And so you're trying to rewire. That's the work you're doing in the mirror. You're rewiring those patterns, like them now, they show up, you have put your awareness on it, you know what happens when you look at yourself a certain way or what. And now we're trying to like install new ways of thinking, and not like just limiting beliefs that held you back,
Mhm.
um, into a certain place. I would say, okay, yes, going into clothing, because
Take it
because
off.
spark your senses. Yes, get naked. For a lot of us, being naked is complicated. Myself is not included in there anymore, but yes, for a lot of us, it is complicated to get naked, and to get naked with yourself, because like, you think something comes up when you're looking in the mirror. Try looking in the mirror naked and see what happens. But yes, absolutely. I would say, as much as, yeah, taking yourself on a date, just spark your senses with something you want, you feel good wearing. Like, you don't have to be naked to start that kind of work. Just, obviously you need to be able to see your body in some way. So but put something on, like treat yourself to something that you really like wearing and that you're comfortable in. And if it's a bathing suit, just put on a bathing suit. If it's like something flowy that makes you feel like a god, a goddess, whatever. Yes, absolutely, do that for sure. What we're trying to do is get you out of your comfort zone, but there is, like, we're not trying to take you a mile out of your comfort zone. Like I know in this society we're very much based onto the fact of always, you know, getting more done and getting that result very fast. This is not a fast result kind of thing. This is
Yeah,
like an entire life process. Like if you
yeah,
start getting into the work, you're in for your entire life. And that's beautiful because man, when you see
yeah,
where you started and like all the possibilities that you have in front of you,
yeah.
it's amazing. But yes, start small. It does not have to be a mile out of your comfort zone. It can just
Hmm.
literally be slowing down and taking that moment for yourself. And that already is something you don't necessarily do. And boom, you're out of your comfort zone,
Hmm.
you know? Um,
Hmm.
so definitely that. And the other thing I would say too, it completely eluded me just now. It's gonna come back.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's totally fine. And so basically, you know, one thing I think that might be worth talking about is, say we've set the stage, right? And we're wearing something that we feel sexy in, and we're sitting in front of the mirror. Do you have any suggestions for intentions that we could set, or open-ended queries to start to explore
Okay,
the
so
deep within?
that's very beautiful that your question pops up now because that's basically what I was gonna say. Yeah, you're so good, reviving me. Okay. What I was gonna say was about the process. Like, really be curious. That I know we all want to go into something because we have an end, you know, an end game in mind. Because we want to get to a place. So we've already discussed that it's the work of a lifetime. But really, I mean, go into it being curious, as in you would hopefully do that during a date. You know, you want to get curious about the other person. Like at the end of the day, who are you beyond all those things that you usually, you know, put on, and all the masks, all the, you know, all the beliefs you have, like who are you beyond all of that? And so you
Mhm.
want to get curious about this person because and like you said, like don't necessarily get frustrated if nothing happens, because you need to give yourself time to unravel everything. You've been working a certain way for a really really long time, and now you're like showing up and all of a sudden you're supposed to like lay bare and all the layers open. Like that's not how it works. But definitely if like being curious brings, I mean, brings you all the possibilities to show up as
Mhm.
yourself, to yourself. Like before you're going to show up as yourself in front of anyone else, you're going to show up as yourself to yourself. And that's already a very, I mean, we're so used to, you know, having those images of who we are in our heads, like who we
Mhm.
are when people look at us, who we are when, yeah, like try to show up for yourself and first
Mhm.
before anything. And it's, yeah, the process is really what it
Yeah.
takes.
I love what you said about, approach yourself and the intention from an aspect of curiosity,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that can be different things for different people, right? It could just be a question that you ask yourself. It could be, something that was triggered within you based on something that somebody else said about your body, that you sort of go on a date with, that you discuss in a way when you go on a date
Mm-hmm.
with yourself, right? And I think that, one of the things that you said earlier that I'd love to kind of circle back on is, there's going to be a lot that your mind, your thought processes try to reject. But there are going to be those glimpses as part of that process, that you're going to get. And I know that for myself, one of my word of the year for 2020 and 2021, or 2021 and 2022, is remember, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I have a tendency to forget a lot. And so I really appreciate, pulling out my phone and jotting something down. And I know that some people aren't able to internalize something until they've written it down, right? So can you speak a little bit to the power of just recording, in whatever way or form
Mm-hmm.
for yourself, that this can help in
Oh,
making progress?
absolutely. Um, I mean, man, I'm putting I'm putting together basically a course, and so there's a lot about the voice that
Mm,
is included in the mirror work, because you have to be, a lot of people have a hard time talking to themselves in the
yes.
mirror. Like, it's very hard. You want to, like, you want to internalize all these things and be like, yeah, I'm the best, and then like they have a really hard time saying it to their face. um
Hmm.
when yeah, and like it's a lot of imposter syndrome and everything, but
Hmm.
um yes, but being able to record everything that's going on in you, like just journaling the way we were talking about earlier, is
Hmm.
is a beautiful way to look at the, like, to be able to witness the process as it goes on, right?
Hmm.
You don't have, you're not gonna remember everything. Just let me put it out there. Like, I know I don't remember much, but
Hmm.
in general, like when you think you have an insight of something, it's a
Yeah.
butterfly. It is not going to stay. Write the shit down. Like, it's,
Yep.
yeah, it's more likely than not. It's just, yeah, it's going to be here to inspire you, and then it's going to go away. So whatever happens in that space, write it down for sure.
You heard it.
Yeah.
Write that shit down. Okay.
And really, I mean, what we're trying to do here is getting you aware of, who you are, your conditioning, everything. I mean, that's a very beginning step to
Hmm.
everything that can unfold after, for sure. And through that, basically what you're going to do is that you're going to put movement back into your body by already putting your awareness towards it, and your, like, whatever intention you come up with, like, it's really going to be for you. So a lot of places that you would have forgotten, or consciously not looked at, or unconsciously not looked at, like my client we were talking about earlier, with, like, that basically had her body cut in half because she could
Hmm.
never see the bottom of her body, and that's where all of her, like, stuckness, all of where the energy wasn't circulating at all, um, was. And yeah, so you're putting movement back into your body in the places that you're paying attention to, and
Hmm.
then it's like it's coming online, and eventually, magic unfolds. But
Hmm.
yes.
Wonderful. Just the last thing that I want to touch on today is, you talked about the thought patterns when they come up and gauging yourself constantly to determine whether it's something that you're ready for or not. And I know that I have the kind of personality of impatience
Mm-hmm.
and sort of wanting to get there, get there. And this is literally decades of conditioning and sort of habits that we are trying to better understand so that we have more power to have a relationship with them, so that we have more power over them, right? And as part of that, you mentioned something that was very beautiful, which is, you don't have to take a really big leap. You remind yourself to take tiny steps and engage yourself, check in with yourself to see, you know, if you're feeling a little uncomfortable, that could be it for that day, right? And like you don't have to push yourself too hard to try to make progress, because if you push yourself too hard, you might leave a bad taste in your mouth, which makes coming back to doing mirror work on a different date
Yeah.
harder. So, is there anything that you would like to reinforce or add as part of that? As part of this, being gentle and kind with yourself as part of
Mm-hmm.
this journey. Anything else?
Definitely. Yeah, you're coming from a place of love. That's where you're going to be in that space. Like, you're coming from a place of love. You're not rushing. You're not, there's a difference between a fear that you have and something that seems scary, a place that seems scary to go to, something that seems scary to look at a little bit too much. And that's usually your body telling you like something's about to happen. You're not actually in danger, but there's a difference between that and between really pushing yourself to the point where you're very much uncomfortable. And that's basically self betrayal at that point. If you're here to listen to your body and to open up, like you're not here to force yourself into anything. You're not here, like it starts with your willingness to do the work. So then just do it in a way that makes sense for your own rhythm, because we all have different rhythms and like things are going to come up when we're ready for them. So really just remember to come from that place of love and go towards that fear too, because it
Mm,
definitely usually is very worth it. Yeah, as much as you feel like your body might die if you if you dive in.
mm,
But yes, just be very deep. Listening to your body is a good way to do it. And it's okay if like, by listening to what's going on in your head, you're eventually going to see, okay, like
mm,
this is where I'd like to go. This is really as far as I can go today. And that's okay. And like, and you
mm,
don't have, that's the moment where you don't judge yourself, when you hold
mm,
yourself and then you ask yourself really that question, can I go further?
mm,
Is it something that's like holding me back, because I think that there's a wall here and there isn't, it's only in my head. Like, can I
mm,
go a little bit further, or are we good for today? Because all the beliefs, everything that's going to come up, you're not against them. Like, once again, we're not playing that game of polarities where inside of you there's going to be those two very different things. That's usually how people get stuck. Like,
mm,
it's a problem in coexistence. And so between, like, you don't want these old beliefs to become something that is going to trouble you even more as a crystallized sort of thing inside of your body. So you're trying to integrate them with love. Like, if you're aware of them, really, you're just gonna, okay, I welcome you here. Like, this is not something, I'm not at war against you. I know you don't serve me in that moment. And we're gonna
mm,
do something about it. We're gonna like create new beliefs, but I'm not at war with you. Like, that's not what this work is about. It's not like, oh, I find something, I see something come up. I'm not gonna judge it, but it's bad.
mm. Yeah,
Because then, yeah, you're really and that's where deep listening, like, you just welcome everything that's going to come up in that space, and you're okay with it. It's okay if it just, hangs out here for a little while you're doing your work. Like, you're aware of it. Just,
mm,
you know, give it space. Give it space, and
yeah,
eventually it reintegrates on its own if you keep doing the work. There's so much more to that.
yeah,
It's like, yeah, trying to capture, lightning in a bottle, but
yeah,
um, yeah,
yeah.
so much more to that.
And you said something in passing, and as we culminate, as we sort of wrap up for today, that I wanted to sort of create space for is you mentioned earlier in passing that, when you practice being in front of the mirror now yourself, there was a time and point where you used to be uncomfortable being naked, with yourself in front of the mirror. And you're now at a point where you don't grapple with that in the same way. And I think that's a beautiful testament of sort of the work that you've done and sort of faith that others who are listening to this, who feel inspired, can latch onto and record and try to remember, to know that Cora, myself, we're testaments of the kind of results and progress that you can see uh, through this process of being very kind, but disciplined and dedicated, devoted rather, um, to going deep within.
Hmm. Yes, and let and that's how you can get, surprised. Like, let yourself be surprised by what comes up, because a lot of things, we think in our mind, like when you said, oh, uncomfortable in front of the mirror, that doesn't necessarily mean that you stay in front of the mirror and you're like, ugh, I don't feel comfortable. That can just be, yeah, you don't have a problem being naked in front of the mirror, but only for a second and passing,
Mm,
and that's it. And that's where the uncomfort comes in. And you don't necessarily see it, but that's what's hidden behind that. So yeah, let's I know, I mean, personally I would put, situations on words, and then you realize, if you let go of that yeah, you can be surprised, and
mm,
on the ways where it comes through, and
mm,
so let yourself be surprised by yourself and go from there, because your own story is very different from anyone else's, and that's what you're integrating here. That's what you're giving space for. That's what you have, you came here to express, for
mm,
sure. So see how
mm.
it shows up in your life. And
Yeah,
yeah,
and with that, I just wanted to say, you know, thank you so much, Cora, for being here, and thank you to our audience. Ultimately, I know, myself included, we all want to be better people for ourselves, to be the best versions of ourselves, to make our dreams come true, and to be the best people to the people that we care about. Um, that could be our lovers or our family, our friends. But you can only help others and be your best self from a position of strength, right? And you can only radiate light to the world from within. And so this kind of self-work and deepening our self-love is the only real and sustainable way to gain tranquility through the struggles of our life and transcend our suffering. And as part of that, showing the world how we carry ourselves with grace through our day to day struggles as part of making this world a better, more beautiful place. And I can't tell you how grateful I am for Cora to make the time to join us. And with that, I would love um, to share her Instagram information, which will have, links to other ways in which you can engage with her and seek her out. Additionally, you all heard it. Cora is in the midst of putting together her course, and I feel so good about the kind of difference that it will make in this world, because I truly believe in Cora's power. And with that, I want to thank you, Cora, and I want to thank everybody who made the time to be here today. With that, love and light, and until the next episode, have a wonderful, wonderful time. Bye.